we were both stunted by society, societal norms in different ways, right? Men are not like, you can't show your emotions, you can't cry and things like that. And women are like, you always have to be nice and, this kind should be proper and kind and, this kind of thing. So you suppress your anger, right? Everybody's suppressing. So that's the thing. We both have it different ways, but for me, I have to say, like, that was a thing that took me a while. Like when I was in India at my teacher training, I had like a crack, I felt like I had to crack my sternum is the sensation exactly. Like it had like the bone in my chest had to crack, and I couldn't get rid of that feeling, and then like 2 days before my training was over, I just started crying and it just went on for like 2 days. Like I couldn't, it's just like it flowed so freely. It just flowed so freely. It felt so good, like a relief. Like I just wanted to do it more. It feels so good. You don't
I
care.
think man crying is the most sexy thing.
Thank you. I'm feeling a little emotional right now, to be honest.
Welcome to Laugh Out Loud podcast. My guest today is Anthony Serpiello. He's a yoga teacher and an artist. He's also a musician and a poet. He developed a yoga system called Complete Chair Yoga, which helps people bridge from chair to mat yoga or rehabilitate from injuries. I'm excited to have him. He has a lot more to share about his transformation journey, his healing journey, recovery journey, and I can't wait for you to enjoy it. Anthony Serpiello, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
I've heard you're married already, so just letting ladies know.
We're extremely happily married.
All right, we're going to talk about relationships later. So before, I would love for you to share more about your yoga journey. What led you to start doing yoga and eventually teaching yoga?
My first contact with yoga was in rehab. So I was in a car accident when I was young, like 20, 23 or so. And when I got in that car accident, I started being on pain medication and treatments like that. I had herniations, so in my thoracic spine, bulging and herniated discs in every thoracic vertebra. So they didn't want to do surgery because I was young, so it was just pain medication. And then gradually, I needed more and more, and eventually, I started, getting illegal drugs to compensate stuff that was strong enough. And eventually, it got so bad, I went up going to rehab. And once I went to rehab, that was my first contact. There was a yoga class when I was there, but I wasn't really interested in that at the time, to be honest with you. I really my first interest was the mental part of yoga. There was a video called The Secret. They showed us a movie called The Secret. And that was like when I heard in that movie, like the first time it ever occurred to me, like that you could possibly choose what you think, or what thoughts to focus on, that you actually have some control over that, was completely foreign concept to me. But when I heard it, it just felt so right, that I actually have a choice, whether to be what I think and what I focus on. And that started to shift everything there. So that was my first yoga for a while, was my mindset really. It was changing my mindset, being aware of my thoughts. How do I want to feel? How do I want to think? What thoughts do I want to entertain? And that was the one thing that started to change a lot of stuff, mentally. And then the postures I became introduced to in a book called Moving Towards Balance by Rodney Yee. About 2 years after I was in rehab, I didn't really have much activity. I was still focusing on my mind, working on my mind, but physically, I was in still a lot of pain from the back injury, and I wasn't on pain medication, so I was struggling with that a little bit. And I was like 360 pounds. I wanted to lose weight, because of course, I know it was contributing to the back pain, making it worse, but I didn't know how because I couldn't go to a gym. I couldn't do strenuous workouts because of my back. So that's how I got into yoga. I had a book laying on my bureau for 2 years. My mom gave to me, and this book, Rodney Yee, and I never looked at it, because my image of yoga was like pictures of older Indian men, like in diapers. That's how I saw it. Those white underwear, and so those are the only things I saw. So it just wasn't interested in it.
You would look cute in diapers.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
There's like white diapers.
Yeah. So just out of like nothing else to do, no other options. I started just taking the book every day and doing what I could do, which was about 15 minutes of postures, yoga postures, and pretty much holding postures. So I would hold one posture steadily because that's all the book was holding postures. And I would hold it. I would start sweating in downward dog, like pouring sweat, you know? So my body was completely not used to it. But something really appealed to me about like the steady gaze and breathing. And I started getting that state of like calm and focus, you know? And stuff started to change. I can't explain that, you know, it just happens. I can't explain specifically, but stuff started to change inside, and I started feeling more motivated. I started like wanting to go do something about my situation, like start working on cutting down on that debt that I had from the drugs and all this stuff. And you know, and I started losing weight slowly, so I got a job and whatever it was. I think I was stocking shelves at the time, so whatever it was, I was doing whatever I had to do, and slowly progress, you know, mental and physical change gradually together. And and then eventually, after I lost like 110 pounds, I felt good. You know, the back pain went away. I didn't even have any herniations anymore. I went to get an MRI and they were gone. So everything healed. It healed my back. I lost the weight, and my mind was in a much better place than it was before. And after that, I wanted to go. I saw like it was so wonderful, like so powerful, you know, in itself, and that I just wanted to share it with people. So I went for teacher training. And that's when after the teacher training, that's when I started teaching yoga.
I'm just curious, why didn't you consider going to a studio, and why did you prefer your home practice versus studio practice?
At the time, to be honest with you, I was like, so insecure and uncomfortable about my body, right? I never, ever would have walked into a studio when I was 360 pounds. And I've never like taken my socks off in front of people, right? Like these kind of simple things that we don't think about, right? That someone yoga is completely foreign to them, you know, this might be like a really uncomfortable thing, you know? And that's how I was, you know, like windows closed, focused on what I'm doing. And that worked for me, you know?
You don't have kids.
He,
You don't have kids,
no kids.
right?
No
No
big
kids.
kids.
You don't have
Yeah, of
kids.
course, of
So
course.
if you have 4 kids, 2 dogs,
Yeah, of course.
right? Then what led you to chair yoga, and what led you to develop this system, complete chair yoga, right? What was the process in that in creating this wonderful system?
Was never like a power teacher or going to be teaching people headstands or handstands. It's just not the way I practice. So I don't have that knowledge or experience to teach people that even, you know, it's just not in my knowledge. So I focused more like instead of going this way, I kind of went down, you know, focus on the people who are, you know, need help where I've actually been and I have experience with. I took the training, and the training was wonderful. Teachers were lovely and everything. Problem I ran into almost right away was that when I went to go teach, the first class that I taught, literally went through the manual and wrote every single posture down, and that was my whole class. And I went through that the first week. I was like, I need to come up with some more stuff. And then once I started learning, you know, doing further training, I would start trying to adapt for specific conditions. So, you know, someone would say like, oh, I have like this or that, something in their body. I would try to make a class focused around that. Like, what helps with that? Oh, I have like sciatica pain. Like, well, what helps with that? What movements and stretches help with that? And then how can I adapt them to the chair? And then I would try to put that into a class, you know, and figure that out. And it just gradually built on its own. I had no intention of making a system. There's so much chair yoga where like it's kind of like the feeling that this is where we are and this is where we're staying. But why? You know, if you're doing gentle yoga, if you teach mat yoga, you try to make people progress, right? Like they do a level 1 class. And then eventually you move to level 2, level 3, you're trying to build up, right? And progress. And same thing with chair. Why can't you do from seated to standing? If someone's in a regular chair class, you can do a little bit of standing, a little bit of balance postures, come to the chair. You can just do one posture, come back down, and gradually build that, doing a little more standing, a little more standing. Eventually you can do standing and let's come down to the chair. Use the chair to help yourself get down to the ground. And then we can do some stretching on the ground, right? And then you can keep increasing that until they can gradually feel stable without the chair standing and come to a gentle class. It's beautiful. It can be progressive, you know, and help people progress that way. I've had someone who was uncomfortable and unbalanced in mat yoga. gentle mat yoga, right? Going to a class. In other words, won't go to a studio class, right? Because feels unbalanced in the standing postures, right? So what I would do is I started with the chair standing on the mat, right? Until their balance improved with the chair, which is very safe and there's no risk of falling. And then gradually to where that person started going to gentle classes, was able to go to a gentle class, right? So even if that could be just mental, right? Where I feel unbalanced and there's fear, oh, what if I fall? What if I embarrass myself? Whatever it is, that's mental. Even if it's just mental, they get the confidence and stability with a chair, and then they start to go to a class. Like so much beautiful stuff can come out of that. Where can it flower from there? So much. For me, it was always about healing. You know, it was never about achieving something. I couldn't do it much physically. I was never like a very flexible person, a very like a gymnast style person. I was never like that. So it was never, I never approached the yoga postures as an achievement. I never approached the yoga postures like I want to do a handstand. That was never my goal. My goal was always like, I just want to feel better. You know, I just want to have more peace. I just want to like, I just want my back to heal. I just want like this hip pain to go away. That was my,
Sense of relief.
yeah, I just want to lose weight. I just want to feel comfortable in my body. Like these were the things. Yeah, relief, always relief. And that's what I always wanted. And for me, it was always internal. It was never about other people because there was no one else in the room, I guess,
You're also a musician. How does your meditation, your yoga practice weaves together with your music, poetry, and creative process?
I really look at like I played instruments since I was 10, right? But I was always like very self-critical. I never even allowed myself to write anything original for a long time, right? Just because of the self-critical nature, the thoughts and it's always comparing it right away to something else and it's nothing compared to that. You know what I mean? Like look at like Elton John's song or Stevie Wonder. It's crap. That's the way my mind was. So and with poetry, that's why I think I see these anything creative is so beautiful. It's like a fruit of your practice, right? It's not, it's like the way I see it is once you come to focusing on emotional healing, which I don't know how it is for everybody, like, but I can only speak for myself. That took me a long time to even get into that part that emotions are anything because maybe I don't know. It's probably you can't say for men or women. I don't believe in that. Like it's for men, it's hard, or women, it's because it's not just one person. You know what I mean? Men is not one person. Woman is not one person. We're all individuals, right?
But boys don't cry, and
Yeah,
women are too emotional.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's true.
So
That's true
there's
too.
that.
Yeah, there's the both ways. We
Mm.
were both stunted by society, societal norms in different ways, right? Men are not like you can't show your emotions, can't cry, and things like that. And women are like you always have to be nice and this kind should be proper and kind and this kind of thing. So you suppress your anger, right? Everybody's suppressing. So that's the thing. We both have it different ways, but for me, I have to say, like, that was a thing that took me a while. Like when I was in India at my teacher training, I had like a crack. I felt like I had to crack my sternum is the sensation exactly. Like I had like the bone in my chest had to crack. And I couldn't get rid of that feeling. And then like 2 days before my training was over, I just started crying and it just went on for like 2 days. Like I couldn't, it's just like it flowed so freely. It's
So
just like
beautiful.
it just flowed so freely. It felt so good, like a relief. Like I just wanted to do it more. It feels so good. You don't
I think men crying is the most sexy thing.
care. Thank you. I'm feeling a little emotional right now, to be honest.
So how does that lead you to your creative process? How did you feel more creative after an emotion release?
I never allowed myself to create until I met you, because I didn't allow myself to write a song. I never wrote a song until I met you, and I never wrote a poem until I met
That's beautiful.
It's true.
What do
It's
you think
true
of
though.
that? Is this
I think it's again related to emotional openness, emotional freedom. Like we've
mm,
done a lot of work on that, right? And especially like in ourselves, but also together, like because once I started to focus on the emotional healing, right? The emotional stuff, I feel like there's different levels to it, right? The physical is the asana heals. Of course, it's all interrelated. You can't separate, but generally speaking, and some emotional healing can come through asanas, postures. Like you have emotional release when you're doing a posture, right? That's possible. But once you get to the other stuff where like the pranayama, the breathing practices, breath work, these things that really focuses on releasing emotions, right? And I didn't do any of that stuff until I met you. And then also like being honest with each other, doing these things, your heart opens all the time, with this stuff. And so you have releases, and then there's just like this huge buildup of that's what I think. We all have like a volcano inside, and we have to start working on that, because that's why we have explosive reactions, right? We have that huge volcano, and there's so much pressure there, and we have like these, someone like moves a napkin and you're like, "Grr," and you freak out, like, like what the hell? Like relax, but that's where it is. It's that buildup, or someone makes like a looks at you the wrong way or cuts you off and you freak out, like you could kill somebody. It's crazy, but that's because there's that buildup of volcano, right? And it's not actually from that thing; it's from that pressure underneath that we're not letting be expressed, and that has to release. So I think all of us have that buildup. And once you start letting that release, letting it release, like a deflation in your heart, you know, it's a relief. It's a feeling of relief, like an exhale, like popping the cork off of a champagne bottle, and you get rid of that. And once that pressure is released, which for me, in my experience, I do it every morning. Honestly, sit in my meditation. There's something there, like just allow myself to feel it. That's all. And it's just like, and it comes up and then let it go. And then there's not as much of a reaction. Yeah, there's a reaction still. There's still something there that comes up, but it's very manageable. It's not uncontrollable. Like it takes us over and we freak out, on people all the time. So I think that's step two in yoga. Like step one is the physical healing. Step two is the emotional healing, right? And then once you start to be aware of that, then step three is meditation. So that's what I wonderful about meditation. Everything leads to meditation. It's meant to lead to meditation. And for me, it's creative, like all the creative expression is is a result of, it's like the fruit of our emotional healing or in our meditation, So the poetry always comes through my meditation, almost always. It's always when my mind's quiet that I just start getting words and then I repeat the words to myself and then more words come and it just finishes.
So, would that be the same thing as channeling? Would you say it is like a sort of download or a channeled poem?
Yeah. I mean, I think so. I don't feel like I don't feel like I wrote anything from my mind. It doesn't feel like that. It's just not the physical experience. Like I don't I've seen poetry, right? That is very intellectual. That definitely is from the mind. It's like the person really thought about this word and you could, it's more intellectual, right? But mine just that's how it comes from me. And I mean there's very different types of creation. But when even songwriting, I don't it doesn't happen like that. Like this, I don't feel like it's mine. I don't feel like I wrote it, and I don't feel like I'm doing the creating because it's not thinking about it. There's no tension in my head. There's no struggle in my head. It comes from natural. It just comes. Like my feeling is in my heart. There's a joy in that. There's a joy in that creative energy, like flowing through you. You know, and there's a joy in it's like the joy of creation. It's like more enjoyable than what comes out. Because it's more enjoyable to do that. And even with a song, I just hear like a melody line in my head, or I hear like a chord, or I feel I'm just playing around on my guitar and something sounds right, and then it's like it's that little stimulus that starts the flow, and then it just flows. And it's not mine. I'm not doing that. Like, there's no way I'm consciously thinking of that because it's all stuff that I don't know. A lot of times I'll write songs with chords I never even played before, or melodies I've never heard before.
It's the zone.
This is
It's what it's called,
yeah.
the zone,
Yeah.
creative zone. So that reminds me something that I read on the Course in Miracles. That says there's a difference between creating and making.
Mm. Yeah, it's beautiful.
So creation comes from that place we call the zone,
Mhm.
that it feels like
Yeah,
a flow, and making comes from our
yeah.
intellectual information.
Yeah, it's like a tree. I love that example. Look at a tree. Like a tree doesn't make a fruit, you know? it's like a natural overflow of its own joy and freedom and abundance and love, it's beautiful. And that's what it is. Like you're enjoying it and it's flowing through you. It's like the juice is flowing through you, right? You're enjoying the juice flowing through you. And that's the
Yeah.
fruit that comes out. And then what does it do with the fruit? Like we're so we're so greedy and selfish, right? We want results. So like fruit trees are so free. They don't even want the fruit. They just want the joy of creating the fruit. And then the fruit falls once it's complete. Once everything's been put into it, all its love and all its creative energy and juice has been put through it, it enjoys the process of creating that. And then it drops it, right? And it allows others to enjoy it, which is so beautiful. We can learn so much from that, from nature, It's so beautiful.
Yeah, yeah, it's beautiful. A poem right there. Yeah. So, right before we wrap up, I know people are dying to hear more about relationships. This relationship, and since I mentioned Course in Miracles, the Course also mentioned, which is, by the way, a book that I carry as with me as a Bible, and it's a wonderful resource, a transformational resource. And the Course brings up the difference between a holy relationship and a special relationship. So the Course uses Christian words, but it's a non-sectarian text. And I know that a lot of us can feel lonely and hope to feel more complete, more fulfilled, more whole through a partnership, through a relationship, through a marriage. A lot of expectations go into a relationship. So who is in a relationship has its own challenges, and in finding that holy connection, we can feel lonely within a relationship. We can feel disconnected and very challenged when we're expecting the other to give what we think it's missing inside. And who is not in a relationship wonders how beautiful it would be, and really desire to have a relationship. So we met when we were both looking for ourselves, right? We were looking like for something inside, looking for who's there, who am I? And then of course there is a desire to exchange this beautiful human connection. And marriage, so marriage comes with a lot of concepts, a lot of programs, right, around marriage, what a marriage is and what a marriage looks like, and that can come with some gain and some loss. Loss of freedom can be perceived as loss of freedom. So since we both studied the Course, and so what would be a holy relationship and a special relationship? And I just use that term just to refer, just to explain what we work towards, right? So what do you have to say about that?
My love.
Mm.
So uh, now I don't want to say this like, because I'm going to say something that's deep, but I don't want to say it like, oh, like you just do it, because that's not true. That's not the experience of it. The experience is that we've been working on this for a while. Like since we've gotten married, I know it's only been like 5 years. That might seem very short to people, but since we've gotten married, we've been working on this all the time and always looking at ourselves and always taking responsibility and always looking at these things, right? Being honest with ourselves, between ourselves. And we've been through a lot of rockiness. It's not like a smooth ride. So just say that first before I get into anything. But then I think I think people feel lonely when they're alone, right? Because they're looking for something outside of themselves to make them feel better. And that's not the way anything in life works at all. No happiness ever comes from outside. No anger comes from outside. No anything comes from outside, good or bad. It comes from inside, right? So if I'm angry with you, it's because there's anger in me. It can't be stimulated. Where do you feel anger? You feel it from inside of you. You don't feel it physically outside. It's not coming from outside. It can never come from outside, right?
It's definitely because you didn't make the bed. Yeah,
But the
for sure.
my bone toothpaste.
For sure.
Obviously.
Obviously, you make me angry.
Yeah.
It's your
You
fault.
made me, yeah.
It's all your fault.
And that I think you make me angry comes with you make me happy. If you think
Mm.
I can make you happy, you also blame me when you don't feel happy, right? And so that's not love. That's blame. That's aggression. That's anger. And that's
And
also,
it's a special relationship.
yeah, we may say it may sound really nice to say, like, I know we love that. You know, society has really conditioned us so strong. So you don't have to change that, but it's up to you to look at it honestly, right? So, oh, in other words, special relationship is when I want anything out, I want you to change in any way, right? I want to control your freedom, your behavior. I want to take away your freedom, and you live up to my expectations so that I can feel better, right? So you behave in a certain way so I feel better, right? Holy relationship is complete autonomy, it's complete freedom. It's that I take responsibility for my feelings, you take responsibility for yours. We're whole and complete in ourselves. We don't need anything from each other. And I have no desire to control your behavior, your thoughts, your feelings, your anything, right? For me to feel better about myself or to be happy, right? I'm happy in myself. This is holy. To me, holy relationship is like, it's not two things feeding off of each other. It's like a symbiosis you see in nature, this holy relationship, right? There's nothing needed from someone. So, like a bee and a flower, right? A bee doesn't like take all the pollen from every flower and they all die and nothing can continue. It's not greedy and selfish. It's doing it out of the joy, right? There's something that attracts it to the flower. It's naturally taking what it wants, but at the same time giving something, right? Pollinating, right? And flowers, same thing. Flowers just enjoy expressing itself and giving its scent freely and beautifully. It's an expression of the culmination of its beauty, actually. You know, it expands and expresses and it's overflowing with joy and beauty. And it
Just fell in love
diffuses.
with you all over again.
It's expansion and it's just giving, right? What it, like it's just like a tree giving fruit.
Mm.
It's so much to give. It's so full of beauty that it can't help but give. It's overflowing, right? And then it dies, which is
Right.
also normal, right? But there's a symbiosis in that interaction. Neither one is even aware of each other. Like I'm sure the flower is not thinking about the bee's not thinking about the flower, right? It's a beautiful natural thing that we're both whole and complete in ourselves. We're in our own joy, and it just naturally is good for
Experience.
everybody. And I think that's the way holy relationship is. That if
Yeah.
everybody interacted like that, it's good for everybody. You know?
Yeah, so I love the holy relationship perspective from the course,
Hmm.
A Course in Miracles, versus there is a step up from our conditioned relationship to what it's often called a conscious relationship and
Hmm.
conscious parenting and conscious community.
Hmm.
And but what does that mean? So that entails, oh, I'm conscious about my traumas, about my triggers, and about my projections, and then we work on around our psychology a lot, and I'm conscious about my
Hmm.
psychology. But I love that holy relationship takes that to a next level, to like I'm completely whole. And that reminder, right? Of course, everything else comes up. Of course,
Mhm.
it comes up, and we project on each other and
Yeah.
stuff. But it just that holy relationship perspective reminds me and takes me to a deeper place within myself where I can really, really let you be,
Yeah.
and let you be completely free. So it goes like beyond all the projections.
Yeah.
It's just that
Yeah.
it's that above the clouds
Mhm.
place. And it's not bypassing. I don't feel like it's bypassing. It's just like bringing light to all the shadows like at once.
Yeah.
But anyway,
I think it's the same thing, right? We're always looking for the same thing, right?
mm,
Like in other words, we want to be one. That's what we want because we are one. Our source. That's what we want is to be one again because we're separated, right? That's what the course talks about. We've separated. We think we're separate from the source of our being of love, 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 right? So we think we're separate from that. When we focus externally, we still want to be one, but we think we can get close enough to the other person and that we can like absorb them into ourselves and be one, right? That way. That's the way the ego tries to do it, right? Through separation, take two. But if you realize there is no separation, then you go inside, right, to the oneness inside. It's like if we're all standing behind a screen, right, and we're looking through different holes in the screen. That's what we're looking through right now in our eyes, right? But behind the screen, there's only one, looking through different holes, right? And so you have to go inside and close your eyes and go inside to feel that. And when I'm in that place in myself as one, you're in that place in yourself in one, we're the same. There's no difference, no separation at all. But when we open our eyes, we see the bodies and we feel like we're separate. But if you go inside, it's the same in all of us. In all of us behind the screen is the same heart, the same feeling, the same love.
Right.
The problem is society taught us we don't know what love means. I just heard someone the other day, I was standing in line at a place, and they say, like, I love this coffee. I mean, what a misuse of the word. Nothing wrong with that, but that's what we think love means. We think it means I like it, it gives me pleasure, and I want it. And so I can get more of this, and it'll give me pleasure. I love it. I love it. I love it. Like there's aggression in it, there's control in it, there's clinging in it, right? And that's not love in my experience. Love doesn't change.
Love
Love
is
is unconditional. So in other words, you
everywhere.
can you can do the worst thing you could possibly imagine. Take any person in prison, the most violent, worst crime, they are loved exactly the same as the Gandhi or Mother Teresa by the source. Love loves them completely and perfect and whole, and it's never deviated, no matter even when they were performing the act. I don't think that's ever changed. I know that's so hard for us to comprehend with our minds, but inside you feel that. And that's part of the thing too. We feel like love can change, right? So we feel afraid, right? But love doesn't change. When you
Yeah.
love, it's always the same. You're always
That's why we can forgive.
exactly.
That's why I can forgive. That leads to forgiveness, right? When you
Yeah.
understand that, when you deeply understand that, then there's forgiveness.
Mhm.
There's forgiveness, right? Our friend, our dear Jesus taught us, forgive them for they know not what they do. And it doesn't matter what they do,
Mhm.
forgive them because we are essentially innocent to believing in the stories and in
Mhm.
our mind. So just closing in that conscious relationship, holy relationship, so that um is when you're then answering to source, you're finding your wholeness through a source within you, not from the other.
Mhm.
Then that doesn't change even when source or that within you, your soul, your being, whatever, um, whatever you call it, you get some form of guidance. Your heart, I call it your heart's desire, leads you to different paths, which it could look like separation or separating from space,
Mhm.
or moving away from that standard marriage style where you live in a home and you share a mortgage and you share your bills and you share all your problems and all your personal
Mhm. Yeah.
life. So if source leads you somewhere else, right, which we are often afraid of breaking that code, it's a societal standard, and
Mhm.
be the one who follow, we chose not to have kids, for example.
Mhm.
We don't have even dogs, or
Mhm.
we're
Yeah.
not living in the same place at the moment.
Mhm.
We have, but there is that, I think that leads you to a level of freedom that you need to be ready,
Yeah.
to answer a lot of questions,
Yeah,
about that.
because it's also stopping to look at depend on the other person, right? To help you
Hmm.
feel better, to help you work things out. Like it's
Hmm.
being really self-responsible, fully self-responsible. And then like, but when you're whole and beautiful in your heart, like then you can, well, that's all you have to share with them is beauty instead of the other way, which is if all you have is like pain in your heart, then all you have to share is pain, right?
Hmm.
I think it comes from basically that we don't understand love, to be honest, like that you have to experience it. I think that's why meditation is the most important thing, the most important practice in my experience, because once you can
Hmm.
experience that unchanging, perfect love, that anxiety about loss, right? When someone might die or we get separated or they might leave me or all this stuff is out of fear because we believe that love can change, right? if we believe love is conditional and can change, then there's fear naturally. But if you know that no matter what you do, it can't change.
Love doesn't change. Yeah, wonderful. Great. Is there anything else you would like to share before we wrap up?
I don't know. I just say, oh, my music. If you want to find my music, you could find it on Spotify. It's just my name, Anthony Serpiello. And my poetry, you could find. I have a poetry book called The Present Way on Amazon. But yeah, besides that, you're whole and complete as you are, and you don't need anything outside yourself to make you happy. Not even my program or books or music. So all you need is love.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.